The Supreme Court today upholding Michigan's ban on affirmative action. The justices in a 6-2 decision ruled that Michigan voters have the right to change their state constitution to prohibit the consideration of race in college admissions. This is huge. Joining us now is Judge Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst. You know, Judge, I mean, this is a decision that deals with the major tenet of affirmative action. What does it mean?
Well, you know, Michigan, Eric, has a very long and storied history with respect to the use of affirmative action by its public schools. We're talking about the university systems owned by the state. 10 years ago, in an opinion by Justice O'Connor, then on the court, the Supreme Court ruled that the University of Michigan Law School, arguably one of the 5 best in the country, could constitutionally take race into account for the makeup of its first-year class. The voters in Michigan responded to that by amending the state constitution, prohibiting any aspect of state government, whether it's schools or state police or anything, from taking race into account. And the Supreme Court today said, yes, you can amend your constitution to do that. They did not rule on whether it was a wise thing to do. They just ruled that the voters have the authority to do it. And so the government of Michigan has to comply with the voters' wishes.
So basically, they didn't actually issue a ruling on the issue of affirmative action itself. But could this spread to other states?
Yes, it could spread to other states. You and I have talked about this many times. The elites that run university systems think they know better than the voters do. And often these university systems, even in schools, even in states that are basically have a conservative electorate, decide that they want to tinker with the law on their own. Now the electorate knows that once it puts a clause in the Constitution forbidding the government from making a decision based on race, you know, that thing that the Civil War was supposed to have resolved, that even the elites in the public universities will have to comply with it.
All right, Judge Sotomayor, in her dissent, though, she says it will harm minorities, and that they point to the fact that black and Latino enrollment at the University of Michigan has gone down.
That's the beauty of this decision today. It really lets the voters go either way, Eric. It doesn't say the voters must, it says the voters may. But if the voters do prohibit the government in their states from taking race into account for, say, college and law school admissions, the government must, and that state must comply.
Okay, now there's another decision. What has to do with lying in political advertising?
Well, that's not a decision yet. That's a decision that we're waiting for. The state of Ohio, you ready for this, has made it a crime to lie in a political ad. Good God, 3/4 of the politicians in the country would be in jail if that were enforced. Thank goodness we have something called the First Amendment. The government is not in the position of deciding what is truthful and what is untruthful with respect to political speech. The voters will decide what speech they like, what speech they don't like.
You know, I mean, yeah, they'd all be in jail. And then what would the Supreme Court do then?
Listen, I don't know why the state of Ohio did this. It may have looked good. It may have looked like they want to cleanse the public debate. Guess what? Individual voters will decide who's telling the truth and who's not. The government should stay out of it.
Yeah, that's, I guess, our civic responsibility. And finally, this, they say, could affect the whole future of television. The small company, Aereo, they want to rebroadcast television signals. This is Barry Diller's company. He's a big investor in it. Why is this so important? How does this affect copyright?
Well, Aereo basically takes local television signals and copies them and stores them in a cloud, so to speak, until you want to watch it. So Aereo says they are basically a sophisticated VCR, whatever you call it today, DVD. They're just copying and storing for you and charging you a small fee to do it. But of course, Aereo takes the airwaves off the air. They don't pay for this. So if Aereo can get away with this, it would have a profound effect on broadcast television as we know it. Now, our sister, Fox Broadcast, not Fox News or Fox Business, but Fox Broadcast is a plaintiff in this case. And Fox's argument, along with the other 3 major networks, is simply, we've paid for this, it's our product, we've copyrighted it, we have a license to get it from our antenna to your homes. People can't steal it with immunity. If they want it, they got to pay us for it. Supreme Court will decide, probably by June.
Any idea what will happen? I mean, they do say the airwaves and these frequencies are a public trust.
You know, sometimes the Supreme Court decides to get involved deeply in these high-tech things. If Aereo loses, they'll go out of business, and Barry Diller can afford it. But another Aereo will come by. Some other little startup will come by, nipping at the heels of the big boys. One of these days, sooner or later, television's going to change. I don't know that it's going to happen this time.
All right. As long as they don't take Judge Napolitano off my TV set.
If they do, you're coming with me.
All right. We can do it in person. Our offices are just down the hall from each other. All right, Judge. Thank you. Good to see you.
Pleasure, Eric.